The history of North America is shaped by the enduring legacies, intricate cultures, and powerful stories of its native nations. Far before European explorers set foot on the continent, sprawling societies flourished across its rivers, plains, deserts, and forests. Among the vast tapestry of native civilizations, the Apache, Sioux, Navajo, Comanche, and Iroquois stand as influential and visionary nations. Their interconnected yet distinct histories, their struggles for survival and sovereignty, and their continuing contributions shape the story of the land to this very day. Long before maps were drawn or borders were marked, the land itself provided identity. Mountains, rivers, seasons, and the living world all formed the frame within which the people grew. Family and kin, tradition and memory wove the fabric of society. Each nation would develop in unique response to their specific environments, and over time, crafts, beliefs, and ways of life were honed into masterworks of adaptation and ingenuity. In the arid and challenging lands of the American Southwest, the Apache made their homes. The very word Apache is thought to derive from the Zuni word Apache, meaning enemy, but the Apache people call themselves the Ndi or Nde, meaning the people. The ancestral Apache came to the region in waves of migration from the north, believed to have broken off from other Athabascan groups centuries ago. Once here, they became masters of mobility and survival, adapting themselves to a harsh, variable landscape of deserts, grasslands, and mountains. Apache society was organized primarily into bands, small, extended families that could travel efficiently and respond to a shifting environment. Leadership arose through ability and consensus rather than inheritance. It is said that the leadership was fluid, with war chiefs guiding during conflict and peace chiefs in times of harmony. The Apache built homes called wickiups, dome-shaped structures crafted from poles, grass, and brush. The design reflected a profound attunement to the needs of nomadic life and the climate of the desert. Hunting and foraging were central to Apache subsistence. They relied on deer, rabbit, bison, and a wealth of wild plants. Their deep understanding of the landscape allowed them to find nourishment where others saw only barrenness. The Apache were also renowned for their fierce independence and skill as warriors, but these traits were expressions of a deeper value: the need to protect their way of life from relentless change and encroachment. Cycles of contest and accommodation marked their interactions with both Spanish and later American authorities. Figures like Geronimo and Cochise, with their daring escapes and clever tactics, became legends not just among their people, but in the annals of American history. Yet their fame reflects more than warfare. It is an emblem of cultural resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. To the north, sprawling across the Great Plains and the woodlands beyond, the Sioux Confederacy soared like the eagle itself, whose image inspired their name. The Sioux are not a single people, but a rich federation known to themselves as the Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota. These branches reflect linguistic, cultural, and geographic variations. Their ancestral lands once stretched from the forests of Minnesota and Wisconsin westward to the Dakotas, the Black Hills, and the rolling grasslands beyond. For centuries, the Sioux were woodland dwellers, harvesting wild rice and navigating rivers in crafted birch bark canoes. As the horse came to the plains, brought tracklessly north from the Spanish Southwest, the lives of the Sioux were transformed. The horse allowed the people to follow bison herds, to travel more expansively, and to reimagine their social world. Their iconic teepees, constructed of bison hides and wooden poles, became symbols of a nomadic freedom that defined an era. The Sioux constructed their societies around kinship networks. Families belonged to bands, and bands to larger divisions known as oyate. Counsel was given in circles, decisions made collectively by the wisdom of elders and the oratory of the skilled. Ceremony and spirituality was at the heart of Sioux life, with the sun dance standing as a key expression of prayer and renewal that continues to this day. As pressure mounted from waves of settlers, railroad tracks, and military incursions, the Sioux Confederacy came to be seen as the last major obstacle to westward American expansion. Wounded Knee, Little Bighorn, and the words of Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse entered the lexicon of American memory, reminders of both tragedy and valor. Yet the Sioux have endured, their culture vibrant in language revival, art, music, and activism. Moving again south and west, we enter the homeland of the Navajo, or Diné as they call themselves, meaning simply the people. The Navajo lands unfurl across the broad four corners of the present-day United States in portions of Arizona, Utah, and New Mexico. Likely arriving in the region c. 1400, the Navajo shared deep language ties with the Apache, yet their journey took on its own unique trajectory. The landscape of the Navajo is not just backdrop, but sacred narrative. Each feature of the land, each mesa or canyon, is freighted with spiritual significance. Their traditional hogans, houses shaped in eight-sided alignment with the cardinal directions, symbolize protection and connection to the earth. Women played a vital role in building and holding the family together within these spaces, both literally and as bearers of culture through weaving and storytelling. Navajo society is built upon matrilineal clans. One identifies themselves through the clan of the mother, which maintains continuity and social structure. Hojo, a concept encompassing beauty, balance, order, and harmony, serves as an ideal for living. This sense of interconnectedness weaves through ceremonies, art, and daily life, infusing all with a sense of the sacred. The arrival of Spanish horses and sheep provided new technologies and opportunities. Sheep herding became central to Navajo life, and the world-renowned art of weaving flourished. In time, the Navajo would face immense hardship, especially during the U.S. military's long walk in the 1860s, a forced relocation that cost lives and sundered families. Yet survival and renewal followed, and the contemporary Navajo Nation is the largest federally recognized tribe in the United States, a testament to resilience and cultural innovation. Turning to the wide wind-swept plains of the southern Great Plains, the Comanche rose to astonishing prominence and power. Known as Lords of the Southern Plains, their influence extended over what are now Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Colorado. Like their distant Apache cousins, the Comanche are also of Athabascan linguistic origins, but upon entering the plains, they evolved with breathtaking speed. The Comanche were among the greatest horse peoples the world has ever seen. Scholars believe they acquired horses in the late 17th century, and by the 18th had built a new society defined by mounted mobility. No one could match their mastery of the horse in raiding, hunting, or warfare. The Comanche Nation was composed of smaller bands, each with its leaders, united by loose ties and the shared pursuits of hunting bison and defending their realm. Traditionally, Comanche dwellings were teepees, their clothing made from the skins and furs of the animals upon which their lives depended. The Comanche economy was based on hunting, trade, and in time, extensive raiding that came to shape the economies of a vast region. Their alliance and rivalry with both European and native neighbors swung sometimes in favor of peace and sometimes in cruel violence. Despite pressure from Spanish, Mexican, Texan, and U.S. forces, the Comanche maintained their autonomy dozens of years longer than might seem possible. Figures such as Quanah Parker, the last principal chief, would embody both the heights of Comanche resistance and the eventual transition to new forms of leadership and diplomacy in a changing world. Far to the east, where dense woodlands and shimmering lakes shape ancient routes of travel and trade, the confederation known as the Iroquois, or Haudenosaunee, wrote one of North America's greatest stories of political innovation and communal strength. They refer to themselves as the People of the Longhouse, a name that evokes both the great bark dwellings that housed entire clans and the vision of unity that founded their great league. The Iroquois proper consist of 6 nations: Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, Seneca, and later, the Tuscarora. According to tradition, the Confederacy's origins lie many centuries ago, when the peacemaker, alongside Hiawatha, sought to end cycles of violence through the vision of the great law of peace. The image of the Longhouse became a symbol of the Confederacy. All nations under one roof, their doors open in peace. The Iroquois excelled in diplomacy and adapted quickly to changing times, balancing alliances with European colonial powers through the intricate covenant chain. Women played central roles in choosing leaders, tending the fields of maize, beans, and squash, crops at the heart of the northern foodways. Their counsels and traditions inspired others, and some scholars suggest that their political model influenced early American democracy. Yet, as with the other nations, the coming of outsiders brought war, displacement, and hardship. The American Revolution and subsequent policies would fracture confederacies and uproot thousands. Still, the Haudenosaunee endure, their voices strong in matters of land reclamation, environmental stewardship, and language revival today. Though each of these nations, Apache, Sioux, Navajo, Comanche, and Iroquois, followed their own trails through time, their stories share deep thematic currents. Each forged cultures of profound relationship to land and season. Each adapted, often with brilliance, to new realities brought by newcomers, by horses, by trade, and by war. Each endured trials that could have led to extinction, yet from each hardship drew a fierce pride, forging new ways while honoring old. Across these vast nations, family and kinship were foundational. Elders passed memories to children through story and song, shaping identity and binding generations together. Spiritual traditions, too, played vital roles. Ceremonies of naming, healing, and renewal expressed gratitude and reverence to both seen and unseen forces. Art and creativity flourished. Navajo weaving, Sioux quill work, Comanche horse gear, Iroquois wampum, each item both beautiful and meaningful. For many, the coming of Europeans meant new possibilities as well as new dangers. Trade blossomed between nations and newcomers. Metals, textiles, horses, and firearms flowed into established networks. But so too came diseases, whose devastation often preceded any visible intrusion by foreign settlers. Epidemics swept through communities with little resistance, reshaping populations and balance of power. Those who survived mourned, remembered, and adapted with customary ingenuity. Colonial powers, Spanish, French, British, and later Americans and Mexicans, looked upon native lands with hungry eyes. Treaties were brokered, then broken. Offers of friendship soured into threats of violence. Forced marches, relocation, and assimilation policies would shatter lives, yet never fully break the connection to homeland and memory. Again and again the people rebuilt. Through every period, women played strong roles. Matriarchs guiding policy, daughters learning the medicines of the land, artists and leaders carrying forward essential traditions. New generations of leaders emerged, whether warriors, peacemakers, or negotiators, always seeking space for their people to endure and thrive. In the face of adversity, native societies fostered surprising resilience. The Apache, for centuries marked as guerrilla fighters, developed new forms of community and economic enterprise. The Sioux, long associated with the bison and the open plains, created powerful movements to retain spiritual traditions and reclaim sovereignty. The Navajo harnessed their creative potential in ranching, arts, and service, most famously the Navajo Code Talkers, whose language thwarted enemy cryptographers during World War II and helped secure Allied victory. The Comanche, once at the center of the horse trade, adapted again, finding new purpose in modern governance, education, and the preservation of history. The Iroquois renewed their councils, lifting up ancient wisdom even as they worked for recognition and the return of traditional lands. Today, across North America, the legacies of these nations are everywhere, echoed in place names, remembered in art and literature, embodied in living languages and communities. The teachings of sustainability, of respect for the interconnected world, of reverence for elders and future generations are being recognized anew. Contemporary society often recognizes these nations more by their trials and tragedies than by their genius and accomplishments. Yet a truer story includes both. The anguish of loss and displacement, yes, but also the profound ability to celebrate, to adapt, and to continue. On reservations and in cities, at powwows and schools, in legislative assemblies and artistic studios, the descendants of the Apache, Sioux, Navajo, Comanche, and Iroquois speak in prideful continuity. Language revitalization efforts are rising. More children now learn ancestral tongues. New leaders stand on the world stage, advocating for the rights of indigenous peoples everywhere. Scientists and environmentalists turn to native wisdom on stewardship and land management. Artists draw on ancient motifs and modern themes, forging creativity that resonates around the globe. The land itself remembers. In the canyons of the Southwest, on the windswept Dakota prairies, along the trails carved by the hoofbeats of Comanche ponies, in the shadow of the Seneca forests, traces and teachings endure. Sacred sites, traditional gatherings, songs, and prayers still carry meaning, calling back memory and pointing forward to the future. It is important, too, to recognize the diversity of individual experience. Every community holds its own variations of language, belief, ceremony, and governance, shaped by circumstance and choice as much as by ancient tradition. Within each nation, there are divisions, debate, and creativity. History is not a straight line, but a web of stories, conflict and cooperation, suffering and joy, remembrance and hope. For all the tragedy and injustice that shadow this legacy, there is also immense beauty, ingenuity, and triumph. The strength of native nations lies not just in what they have survived, but in how they have chosen to thrive. Let us remember, then, the great native nations of the continent not as relics of a vanished era, but as vibrant contributors to the ongoing story of America. Each nation, Apache, Sioux, Navajo, Comanche, Iroquois, reminds us of old truths as we face new problems together. The imperative to balance progress with respect for the land. The importance of listening to elders and voices often ignored. The value of community and the necessity of hope. In every generation, new leaders, thinkers, artists, and healers rise to carry these teachings forward. The legends of Geronimo, Sitting Bull, Spider-Woman, Quanah Parker, Hiawatha, and so many more speak not only of their own times, but offer guidance now. Their words echo across valleys and through city streets, expressing dreams of sovereignty, of justice, of cultural renewal. Their story is not closed, but ongoing. As the future unfolds, each of us may find inspiration in the enduring example of these nations, to persevere in the face of difficulty, to honor what has come before, even as we build what will come next, to seek harmony and justice, so that the land and its peoples may flourish together for generations yet unborn. The journey of the Apache, Sioux, Navajo, Comanche, and Iroquois nations is both unique and universal, a journey of dignity, struggle, renewal, and hope. We honor them not through myth or museum pieces, but through engagement, understanding, and respect. Their stories are the shared heritage of this continent, and their future remains as limitless as the sky above the ancient, living land. Thank you for honoring the legacy with us. These weren't just tribes, they were nations, with wisdom older than time and courage written into the land. At Tales of Black, we believe history isn't just in books, it's in blood, in memory, in the soil beneath our feet. If this journey moved you, subscribe, turn on the bell, and share this story, so their voices echo through time, not just textbooks. You just walked beside warriors, dreamers, and protectors. Never forget them. This is Tales of Black, where the past still speaks, and we still listen.